ever by design.
This is Brienne. She heard people talking about investing. Then, CIBC Investor's Edge sent her a price alert on a stock she's been tracking. Good thing she can manage her stocks without breaking a sweat. Be in the know. Invest confidently with CIBC Investor's Edge.
Take your time. I'll take it.
What is it?
I must keep calculating.
What is it?
What is it? Take your time.
Protect the things that matter to you. Get a free home insurance quote from Square One in less than 5 minutes.
Would you like some wine?
Yes, no, please. Straight up to the top.
Oh, okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Dinner's ready.
Come on. So you gotta get it right. Get it right. Make it happen.
Twinings. Teas that taste great and do you good. Twinings. Drinking life.
Supposed to they say, people always say stuff like this doesn't affect sales much. But I really do think it's having an effect, especially in recent years, where hating on progressive games, movies, and TV shows has become such a popular thing to do. Like I basically said earlier, this is such a pathetic way of acting.
Well, if it's a really popular thing to do, you should ask yourself the question, why are you making media that's supposed to be popular and in an audience that doesn't reflect that view?
Where they see a corporation pandering to their political views, and then they're instantly compelled to eat
Big
that
mistake.
slop right up, no matter how terrible the underlying media itself is.
I think this is also another big issue that people have, and I think it's something that the right wing does a bad job with, but I think the left wing probably does worse of a job with, is that they're not able to rein in extremists and rein in people that are just kind of crazy, basically. And I think that not being able to self-regulate causes yourself to get an increasingly more extreme version of whatever your movement is until it no longer represents enough people to be meaningful.
For the OP reading, not an unpopular opinion on this sub, I don't think. More so on the main Dragon Age sub. Quick side note, because I know we interrupted this whole post thing quite a lot, but the OP did have that introduction where they said unpopular opinion. Alright,
It's not an unpopular opinion, it's an inconvenient opinion. Everybody knows it's true, but people don't want it to be.
This person says, and I agree with you, the clicks culture on YouTube is a pervasive rot. Top response to that saying, main Dragon Age sub has been infected with bigots for months now. And then this response says, wish the mods there would remove any post that remotely has bigoted dog whistles. I can't read this seriously, bro. Sometimes people in the comments ask why I read comments like this in the voice that I do, and I just read
Because
them
they're
the way
funny.
I think they sound.
Yeah.
These people sound so whiny and weird to me, so it's just naturally that's the voice I kind of speak in when I read their comments. And
I mean, a lot of the people, the thing is, Reddit has become such a, it's like the mental health marketplace. I see so many people that are just so unhinged on that website now. And I feel like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I'll read comments and it won't even be about streaming. It'll just be about different conversations. And people are just so weird. I don't understand how it happened, but it's just I feel like that's what happens when you just kind of increasingly it's like you have like a culture of censorship and increasingly more self-radicalization that happens over time, and then after 10 years you become Reddit. I think that's what happened because X is so normal and now get real. Well, the difference with X is that there's like a balance of opinions. So like, yeah, there's unhinged people on X, but I feel like on Reddit the difference is that it's curated. So you would naturally expect to see on an uncurated website that a ton of people would be unhinged, but on Reddit I feel like it's everywhere.
It helps that I'm also just laughing a lot of the time when I read this stuff too. I mean, these people are ridiculous. So let me try this again. It says, wish the mods there would remove any post that remotely has bigoted dog whistles. The Avowed sub has done a good job with that, so the Dragon Age sub shouldn't have much trouble doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. Literally advocating for the other subs to be censored the same way the Veilguard sub is and the Avowed sub.
Well, that's what they want, right? Because this is, and I think it goes to show, right, is that these are people that they know that if this type of thinking gets out and people start feeling this way, people will turn against it. And I think that that's probably the big reason why, like, it's one of the big reasons why I think it's very damaging when you just delete everybody else's opinion. And, like, I mean, I think it's very fair to delete opinions that are, like, hostile or, you know, like, openly, like, you know, like, I don't know, like, using racial slurs or something like that. Sure, yeah, of course. But, like, whenever you're talking about just, like, people that are trying to have a conversation about something, and you're deleting conversations about it and people can't talk about that, well, I think that usually there's a reason for it. Can we get back to this idea that you think Twitter has both sides? Yeah, sure. The reason why I think that is because of every observable metric possible, and also my own personal experience, not to mention CNN's viewpoint on it as well. CNN did data on it, and they said that Twitter actually was one of the most balanced platforms. And also it depends on what... It also depends on who you interact with, right? And so, like, some people are going to get a different experience with Twitter than others.
And they're, like, applauding that. For the record, obviously, what this person is referring to as a bigoted dog whistle is things as simple as, like, criticizing BioWare in this context.
Yeah.
Or criticizing Tosh. Like, if you were to say you think Tosh is not written well, they would refer to you as an instant bigot. They would want you banned from the subreddits. You know. And then there's this top post from today, from only 2 hours ago, that says, addressing the anti-woke crowd. I wonder if they realize how much their indiscriminate negativity and dogpiling lessens their power as consumers. I love how one of the top posts blames a
What does it say again?
lesson.
Veilguard replace it. Dogpiling lessens their power as consumers. It incredibly increases it. It massively increases it. The thing is that every single time that a game like this fails after a huge amount of negative controversy, it terrifies every other company into not wanting to attract that negative controversy. And you're seeing that across all media. Like, for example, like Disney getting rid of, like, that, I think it was Pixar, maybe, I don't remember exactly, like getting rid of, like, some trans scene. They're terrified of it. Because it's like, I mean, really, like, I mean, it's effectively marketing that's, like, bad marketing. They're terrified of you coming into games? Well, yeah. I mean, do you mean lessons? Yeah, lesson. Like, well, what they mean to say is it lowers their power. Not like it teaches them a lesson about their power. And Terrify is the same tactic that SBI uses? Yeah, exactly. It is. And so, no, I think that these companies are really afraid of it. And I think that becomes very evident that they try to hide these different types of features until the game comes out. And I think that you're probably going to see games that are effectively using the fact that they're not using different types of, like, woke type of content. They're probably going to start using it as advertising. And I think a great example of that is Lords of the Fallen recently. Is that they did a thing where they were like, yeah, we're going to revert back to male and female instead of body type 1 and 2. Like, you have to keep in mind that every single thing that a brand does is, in some way or another, a form of marketing. They're doing that because they think that will get people to play their game more. So it's working. They're terrified to lose money? Yeah, exactly. They don't want to lose money.
It's their power as consumers. I love how one of the top posts blames the quote-unquote anti-woke crowd for ruining Veilguard's reputation and hurting causing it low sales or whatever. And then this one's like, the anti-rogue crowd are losing their power as consumers. Veilguard could have launched with an all-white, all-straight male cast, and it would still have problems. Veilguard could replace its entire team with straight white men, and it would still have problems.
That's true.
What a weird straw man. Like, who's even asking for that? People are simply critiquing the game for very valid reasons. For example, you can go over to Steam and take a look at the long list of negative reviews from people who did buy the game and didn't like it, where there's all sorts of different criticisms. For example, this negative review in part says, "This game forces me to be the therapist of a cast of characters that are unlikable adult babies. I feel like they came from a Disney movie in the worst way possible." Or this one, for example, that says, "Romances are laughable in this game. BioWare was once so known for writing good RPG romances that I genuinely struggle to believe these romances are from the same company." Or this one that in part says, "I cannot in good conscience recommend this game to anyone, especially not Dragon Age or even BioWare fans. I'm shocked that the most prevalent criticism of Veilguard is not the abandonment of the world status quo. And the reason I keep saying in part while I read these sections of these reviews is because these people wrote like mini essays.
Of course
In
they
other
did.
words, I'm reading a tiny
Yeah,
fraction.
no, like the Veilguard, the Veilguard, like the subreddit, looked like a bunch of twit-longers. As soon as this information dropped, everybody was writing out these massive essays explaining why the game was a complete failure.
Of these full negative reviews. And these people have extremely well thought out and very detailed explanations for why they don't like the game. This is a recurring theme on a lot of the negative reviews for Veilguard, and once again you can find it all over on Steam. And one thing they're not all crying about is, oh, we just wanted the game to have all straight white male characters. So once again, the shills for this game are acting extremely politically brain-rotted and just really weird. Really, really weird. It doesn't.
I think that there's absolutely a factor of identity politics that goes into this, and I don't think it should be overstated or understated, but it should be acknowledged that yes, I do think that that's present. It definitely is present, but he's right that even if Dragon Age didn't have any of these problems, the game would still be bad. It has some effect, yeah, it does. Companies are still, we're reaching a glass roof. Companies are still realizing the audience that was sold as a gigantic by Northus is actually just a small portion of real world people. I hope they'll continue this one. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen too. Do you think this is the fault of the hands-on approach? I think it's the fault of people that push ideologies that can't be criticized publicly. So it creates a culture of toxic positivity where nobody wants to be the person in the room that says, let's not add the scene about being non-binary, because that's going to cause people to, like, I think a really good example of this is, like, if you look at the way that I've covered the election and, like, the way that I've covered different political and social events, and now I'm being maligned as a Nazi. Well, do you think that's good or bad? That's bad. And so, for me, it doesn't really matter because, what's going to happen, right? There's going to be somebody comes in the chat and they're like, I can't believe you said this, and it doesn't matter. But if you work in a company and you're being treated this way, well, there's a really good chance that you're going to lose your job. And so, the difference is that these people, they don't have the privilege that I have to just be basically self-employed. So they have to operate inside of a world where if they disagree with these people will completely misrepresent, malign their reputation, and systematically work to destroy their life. So, yeah, that's the reason why it keeps getting pushed. It's because people like that infect these types of groups, and then anybody who goes against them gets labeled as something that's awful. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? The racist against you as a German American, we should cancel them? Look, you see kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm just using myself as an example.
Returning to the post, they go on to make 7 different lines of text, all prefaced with the issue, where they go on to talk about a number of production issues that Veilguard faced internally at BioWare. Much of this stuff being things that I discussed in my prior videos about Veilguard. And yet, even then, this person doesn't really get some of this stuff right. For example, they say, the issue with Veilguard is that for the past decade, EA has attempted to maximize its profits by launching live service games that go against everything BioWare stands for as a company. The problem with this is that Veilguard itself was being created as a live service game at some point, but there's no evidence to suggest that that was entirely the doing of EA as this post was trying to make it sound like. As a matter of fact, it was Gary
knows?
who took
It's
over as the
impossible to know.
BioWare GM who began to switch the production of Veilguard from live service back to single player. Therefore, the fact that it was a BioWare executive who was able to make the switch for Veilguard going from live service to single player also implies that when Veilguard was being developed as a live service game, that it was also BioWare's decision to do that. But here we have a Redditor.
Somebody says I get going after developers who lie bust enjoyers down for people that enjoy it. The reason why is because they do the same thing. Like people are being called perverts and weirdos for liking Stellar Blade. So you shouldn't be surprised when those same people have resentment towards people that effectively, you know, like misrepresented them and demonized them. That's the reason why.
Trying to put all the blame on EA and act like BioWare is completely innocent and can do no wrong. Another example of this is where they say the issue with Veilguard is that it wasn't given enough time, money, or resources to start over from scratch with the third iteration.
Given enough years, right? I mean, come on, what are you going to
Of the game.
Come on,
It was
guys.
built on the bones of its previous iteration, an MMO, which isn't conducted to create the sort of game we expect from the series, but the devs were told to make it work anyway. This is just objectively wrong information. While there was a period of time that Veilguard was being developed as a live service game, as we discussed briefly, it was
Very
going
obvious
to have
that it
some
was.
level of multiplayer components, but not on the level of a full-scale MMO. Furthermore, the argument that BioWare didn't have enough money or resources is not a good argument, considering how many devs have done so much more with their games with so much less. Skipping down to the last section where they also preface it with the issue. They say the issue with
That's
Veilguard.
also another thing that I think a lot of people are discovering is that you have like these studios that are, yeah, thanks for the good substance, thank you. They can spend any way they want to. They can't honestly deny it was an extremely bad game despite the gaslighting. Yeah, and to be fair, it does look like a pseudo online game made in the single player. No, I think it's true. But like when you see games that are developed for like much smaller budgets and then you look at a game like this, I think that this is kind of what I was saying before about how AAA gaming is like becoming too big to succeed. Where it's just so over-designed, there's so many layers of red tape, there's so much like bureaucracy involved that the creative mindset that goes into it, by the time that it actually is implemented into the game, it's completely distorted and removed.
That EA wasted 10 years with their heads up their behinds, no direction, and constantly moving goalposts that are impossible to achieve. You can see again how this person's trying to put all the blame on EA and acting like BioWare is completely innocent. What they go on to say, and now the issue with Veilguard and BioWare in general, is that there are a host of angry, red-pilled netizens who don't even know what they should be angry about or what their demand should be. Instead, they point fingers at women and minorities who really don't and never have the sort of power that people think they do.
This is the problem that a lot of these people have, is that they argue from the perspective of their own type of judgment, and they don't think about it from the perspective of anybody else. I think that many of these people have basically what's performative empathy, where their idea of empathy is doing things to people to make themselves look good. But the reality is that if you understand the way that another person thinks, you can understand that they might not have the same values and the same type of, like, basically tier system of importance that you do. So a lot of these people get fixated on the reality of something without looking at the perception of it. If people's perception is that this is the case, for them, that's what they're going to make a decision off of. And you're not going to be able to tell them that they can't have that opinion because you've decided that is wrong. It's a very childish viewpoint to have. And I think that basically that's why you have a lot of this friction that happens. Does that mean empathy? Well, I'm looking at things from a perspective that I think makes sense. Right? That's about it. I mean, I don't know what else I can do, but that's the way I see it.
Another pathetic strawman there. This whole post is full of objectively false information and strawman arguments, and of course tries to come off like some sort of champion for minorities as they overtly try and gaslight people. Buddy, you're really not doing much to help anyone when you're acting like some sort of deceptive liar, some sort of terminally online redditor. Their post ends by saying, "My advice to fans." Oh yeah, just what the fans needed, advice from this weirdo. Great. be intentional and be specific about
Yeah.
the things you want in the next game. Don't just post angry ravings about DEI or woke things.
People do. But when they do, then you say that they're racist or
This is
sexist.
what we have available.
So they did. But then they get banned on Reddit because you can't say that on Reddit. But the problem is that banning them on Reddit doesn't make them buy the game. It just makes them go to another platform and get more radicalized and be more determined to make you fail. And I think this is another example of it succeeding. It worked. Both of them to assume that there's going to be a next game? Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Actually look at the game and identify what is missing that you want to be there next time. Advocate for less corporate interference. Demand better production. And always support the developers and writers who you see on social media, because the actual movers and shakers at huge gaming companies are people you'll never meet or hear about, but they're happy to let those public-facing devs and writers take the heat when things go south. Be aware of your power as a consumer and be specific about what you want. My gosh, bro.
I think that this person's kind of right about what they're saying, and the more specific that you can be, the better. I think that for any developer, if you're going to add in any type of gender dynamics that are not
I've
male and
always
female,
loved spiders.
you are introducing yourself into an extremely divisive political issue. And involving divisive political issues in your video games is your right as an artist, and you have every right to do that. But don't be surprised when divisive political issues divide people, and then people choose not to buy your game because they don't want to be involved with it. And I think that's the big issue that these people have, is that, like, there are these issues that happen, and they want to put them in the game, then do it. But, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can have these things in the game, or you can have a game that sells well to a mass audience. But you can't take fringe ideology, mass produce it, and then expect people to mass buy it. So that's the issue. And I think that there's a couple of other instances, like if you're race swapping a character, I think this is another one. If there's a character in a video game that is traditionally always one race, and then you race swap that character or you gender swap that character, you should expect to see people that are frustrated and angry about that because it's a divisive issue. Now, you might think that it shouldn't be a divisive issue, and that does nothing because it still is. So, and this is the race swapping is forbidden Exodia? Yeah, exactly, right? And like Aragorn? Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to think about that one, and there's a few other examples of this too. And some of these issues, like, for example, like pronouns. Pronouns are very divisive. Like, pronouns, and this is especially true with non-gender binary pronouns. So any pronouns beyond he and him or she and her, this is an extremely divisive issue, and the inclusion of even pronouns as a function is divisive.
Obey me.
It's very evidently divisive based off of how many people express the fact that they care about it. So you can say that people shouldn't care about it. You can say that it shouldn't be an issue and this should be okay. That's totally fine. But they still won't buy the game. Even then, yeah, nobody, absolutely. Remember the marketing? There was like a big Trump, what do you call it? There was like a very big Trump commercial, basically, right? Promotion that said, you know, Kamala's for, you know, they, them, and, you know, and Trump is for you, basically, right? I think that was a really, really strong argument for a lot of people because a lot of people are uncomfortable with, like, the breakdown of a gender binary. It is a genius ad. Yeah, it's a genius ad. And absolutely. Now again, you might think that this is transphobic. You might think that this is bigoted. You might think that all of these things are true. But at the end of the day, if you try to sell a game, here's a great example. If you try to sell a game and it's an entire black cast from China, you're going to have a really hard time. And you can say the Chinese are racist and they're bad and they shouldn't think that way. And you can be totally right, but you're still not going to sell the game. And so if you want to basically conscript a bunch of people into a suicide mission for their studio, engage with these topics at your own demise. But I think that it's very obvious that many people have spoken very loudly that they don't want to see this stuff. They're not interested in it. And if games put it in, people will be less likely to buy it. That's it. Then why did Wukong do so well? Because Wukong didn't have any type of messaging like that at all. There was no like controversial contemporary politics in Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, there was none. It's a fucking monkey? Yeah, exactly.
One of the biggest improvements prototype I've seen. Holy smokes. I wouldn't be surprised if this person was in terms of working in BioWare. At the same time, we've seen how plenty of these sort of modern audience types of people are just like this by default anyways.
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking like maybe he's trying to make like a black people monkey correlation. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but mods, you might want to check his logs and maybe damn that way. But yeah, it could be that. I thought about that. I just didn't want to talk about it. But yeah.
We'll take a look at the top response from just 1 hour ago,
Yeah.
and then we're going to wrap it up there because that's enough brain hot. But
Yeah.
let's take a look at this. So, as much as I appreciate the sentiment, I find this to be preaching to the choir a little bit. I think the people who are subscribed here have no illusion about why Veilguard has the shortcomings that it does.
Yeah.
Another thing is we need to stop reasoning with the anti-woke people because they don't ever start or enter a conversation with reason. Spreading misery online is their only chance of being seen and heard in their lives. So any engagement, even if you unequivocally dunk on them, is giving them what they want. They don't like Dragon Age, they don't like games, they don't like anything. They only engage because they see someone enjoying something and they can't have that. It's truly ironic.
Man. It's too bad, huh? Yeah. It's too bad. You can definitely have political or divisive topics and conversations in games. But but like, see, the thing with Metal Gear Solid as an example is that there aren't really a lot of fans of the way that most people are not fans of the military-industrial complex. That's the difference. They're not fans with shadow governments and, you know, like the military-industrial complex and hidden deals and paying off senators. That's what I was talking about being divisive. Metal Gear Solid isn't divisive, it's political. It's the same reason why Metaphor was popular. People don't generally like racism, at least here in the West. Most people do not like racism. They might be vaguely racist, but I think that most people have a distaste of institutional racism. And so games that criticize that and put that in a respectful context and provide commentary on it will be appreciated by this type of a community. You're covering something that's generally accepted as bad. Gender ideology is only accepted and coded by a small group of people. Exactly. It is. And that's the issue, is that, like, how many people do you think agree that, like, you can be non-binary versus how many people do you think agree that the military-industrial complex is bad? I wonder which one casts a wider net. It's just, again, common sense. It's also the implicit lecturing. Yeah.
Ironic how this person talks about seeing things with objective reason, as they simultaneously act like any post with objective and false information is the truth. And then acting like people who criticize Dragon Age the Veilguard just don't like video games at all and don't like anything. What an insane thing to say.
Yeah, we hate all video games.
Have been saying their whole thing about, like, these people have never been seen or heard of their lives. They just want to spread misery and can't let anyone enjoy anything. You know, all that really weird stuff they said.
It's all personal. It's all this, like, personal, emotional thinking. It's not, there's no, like, it's not productive in any way. There's no real, like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think, like, what the word for that is. Like, there's just nothing going on. It's just not logical. Yeah, it's just somebody basically, you know, it's the way that they feel. Desperate vilification, exactly. Yeah, there's no substance, there's no, you know, logic to it or anything. It's just an outburst.
Yeah, definitely enough brain rot. I'm going to leave it there. The point of all this is to say that based on today's news, it is now officially confirmed that Veilguard is a financial failure. And as you can see, the modern audience types are freaking out and becoming crazier, like going full aggro rabbit mode. So yeah, let me know what you think about all that stuff.
Oh yeah, they're very upset.
If you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. I appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
I think also these people are not stupid in a lot of cases. They're just simply misled and they have different viewpoints. And so what ends up happening is that I think that they realize the fact that when a game like this fails massively, it absolutely hurts the entire, their entire movement. I think that they're aware of the optics of this. And that's why they're also trying to defend it, is because when a game like this fails and then it's shown to be failure, they're like, oh my god, this is our ideology and it's died. You know, somebody asked the question, I saw this during the video, I didn't want to cover it until I finished, but there's the video, give it a like. That's a really, really, really good video. I liked it a lot. And I found it to be very funny. The Matt Nerat posted from BioWare. No, I didn't. I'd have to see it for myself. You'd have to link it to me. And brain rot delusional people, well, they have an agenda, right? And that's what's more important to them. Why do people think that insulting the opposite side is going to make them want to vote for them in the next election? Because objecting to those insults was not allowed. That's the reason why. And also because it was working. Like during COVID, you had a pretty much at least from my adult life, probably the highest level of restriction on speech and thought that I've pretty much ever seen. And it was universal. It was with phones. It was with not really phones, but it was with what do you call it? Applications. It was with video games. It was with YouTube. It was with social media. It was with everything. And it was with the government as well. And so you had this unilateral perspective that you couldn't really go against. And I think that because of that, people were convinced and they were lured into a false sense of security that nobody would be able to question these viewpoints ever. And as soon as the questions started rolling in, and I think this happened, by the way, because of Twitter. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, I think that was the turning point. And I think that that was the point where as soon as you have one break in the wall, then the flood begins. And I think that was the break that caused the entire flood and changed everything. Why should we support devs? We only want good games. I don't care about the devs. I hate this crap. Support the devs. I agree with you, and I feel the same way about streamers too. This is why I try not to farm a lot of parasocial stuff, and oh, well, this is the way I feel and all this stuff, and this is what's going on in my life, and this is so sad or whatever. It's because it's just weird and it's cringe. You guys come here to be entertained, for the content, for fun. I'm sure a lot of you guys like me and you care about me and you care about my well-being, and I really appreciate that. But I also don't want to use that as an excuse to not make sure that you're happy. And so it's just really common sense, right? It's the same as anytime you go to your barber, right? You go to your barber. I went to a barber about 7 years ago, right? Something like that. And yes, obviously you care about the guy, but you also want him to cut your fucking hair too. And so it's not like everything is transactional in a way that's unhealthy. So yeah, I think it's totally fine. And I hate that people want to blame investors when it's the devs that are ruining games. I think why not both? I think it's multiple groups of people that are doing it themselves. So yeah, exactly. And common sense streamer, I try to be common sense as much as I can. So yeah, no, if I'm a hate watcher and a gooner get fucked. Okay. All right, and so yeah, I don't care about you, entertain me. Yeah, and I get that. I totally understand it. And I think it's a healthy perspective to have, by the way. It's very healthy to have, and I wish more streamers had that perspective. But anyway, somebody asked the question, do content creators have too much power? And the answer to that is, in some cases, actually, I think that they do. But the instance is that you can't really control that. Because even if you can control it, there's no functional way you can control that wouldn't be overused. abused or misused. So I think that really the fact is that content creators only have power if the audience gives them that power. And I'll give you some examples.
Yes.
So there have been video games that I've made videos about, right?
find it
Like, let me think of an example of a game that my viewers really didn't like, but I thought was a good game. I don't know. Do you guys have any examples? I'm sure that I can think of a couple of them. But what do you guys think? Prince of Persia? Yeah, great example. Thank you. Okay, so I played this game. And so I tried the new Prince of Persia game. Nice, you know, 350K views, everything. There were a lot of people, and the like and dislike is okay, but this is actually a pretty bad ratio for a just gameplay video. And everybody is shitting on the game. Everybody is negative about the game. And so just because I made a video about this game doesn't necessarily mean that everybody in my audience is going to like the game. They're going to think that it's garbage. So this entire concept that's built off of the idea that content creators are these like mastermind, fucking mental, you know, wizards that can control the thoughts and emotions of everybody is total bullshit. The fact is that, and you'll see this with Kingdom Come Deliverance, by the way, there have been a number of content creators that have made it effectively their job to shit on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for a number of creative decisions that they chose to make. I'm not going to get into too much of that or anything else, but my point is that those people will not have probably that big of an influence on the sales of the game. They won't. Yeah, they're not going to have that big of an influence. And the reason why is because the movement for it is, it's just simply irrelevant. People just don't care. This is really funny. They're trying their absolute best to get people to play and buy Assassin's Creed Shadows. They released a story trailer and everything. This is the event. I don't know if they have the trailer in this event, or in this video, so we're gonna watch the story trailer first that was released by Ubisoft themselves, and then we'll watch the actual preview, okay? Here we go. That dislike ratio? Well, we'll see what happens.
It's hard to remember. Blood.
Breathe deeply. Tell me about your nightmare.
There is evil at work in our homeland. Greedy lords who bring war.
He comes.
Oh, wow.
Oda Nobunaga. He does not. This blade cannot be taken.
What?
Now's the time.
These people don't care about us. Blood for blood.
This land will soon be unified by my vision. Is that tyranny?
I ride with you. My whole life, I have been caught on the wind, blown across the world.
I see potential in this land.
The Black Soldier is not one of us. Send him back to wherever he belongs.
He may become a legend, or he may die. You need... No. Tools belong in the old world. This is the way forward.
Oh! You slaughtered innocents!
The blade is you. You are part of something bigger than this war.
Our fates are connected.
We have all seen darkness. Some have been that darkness. Because you believe in my cause, we have come together, despite it all. To bring change, to bring light.
Well, don't know. It wasn't awful. I guess, you know, it wasn't amazing, but it was okay. All right. And so we'll take a look at the full preview of the game, and we'll see what the gameplay is going on with. And we'll see what happens with that. That looked better than the other ones you watched earlier. Why y'all hating on it? I think it's okay. I mean, again, like, I'm not going to make decisions on this based off of, what do you call it? Based off of, like, just a trailer, but yeah. Here we go. This is the actual preview of the game.
After spending several hours finally playing Assassin's Creed Shadows after multiple delays, the next entry keeps up with the satisfying action and traversal that the series is known for, but it also showcases a sharper eye for world building and giving its two protagonists their time in the spotlight. From my time sneaking through fortresses, taking in the sweeping vistas of the open world, and pulling off slick combat finishers, I got to see just how developer Ubisoft Quebec has improved its balancing act of satisfying action, RPG systems, and rewarding open-ended exploration in a captivating new setting that's been
I will say that riding around in the game looks good, but the combat sure doesn't. The combat looks like a big problem.
long overdue. Since Assassin's Creed Origins in 2017, the series has stayed comfortably within the realm of the open-world RPG, offering an expanded scope and narrative decisions to alter the course of the story. While this shift has led to some growing pains for the franchise, it has gotten a better handle on the additional layers to gameplay without compromising the fantasy of being an ancient assassin. With Shadows, the latest attempt at an Assassin's Creed RPG shows that Ubisoft may have also cracked the code on the role-playing element with its two unique protagonists, something the series has struggled to present in a way that has muddied the narrative waters.
Yes, it'll be quicker if I...
Shadows sets its sights on a new mystery deep within a revamped Animus program. In this new simulation, we focus on feudal-era Japan and the secret history of both Yasuke, an historical African slave who became a full-fledged samurai, and Naue, a female shinobi taking up the mantle of her father's legacy. The pair eventually team up to navigate a radically changing 1500s Japan, rubbing shoulders with other historical allies such as Oda Nobunaga and Kuroda Kanbei, while taking down a shadowy cabal of warlords manipulating the country's attempt at unification from within.
Man, the combat really seems pretty rough. Like, I can't see this. I mean, like, there's like so many new action combat games that are coming out, and like, yeah, it's too slow. It's good. Come on, you think it's good? I mean, compared to what? I mean, maybe it's good compared to like some bad Souls-like games, sure. But like, if you compare this to like any other like just traditional action combat game, I feel like it's pretty far behind.
Now!
It is possible you hold ulterior motives beyond reconstruction.
Down. One of Kanbei's dogs. Kill them!
I spent most of my playtime exploring Harima Province, one of the early zones that featured a quest line involving an insidious plot to undermine the region's power structure. The world of Assassin's Creed Shadows is massive, but thankfully not to the ridiculous size of Valhalla. Okay. That said, plenty of opportunities were packed in this province, and the viewpoints to observe nearby points of interest helped steer me in the right direction. A general theme I found compelling was how Shadows emphasized harmonizing with the open world, a cultural element the developers wanted to highlight with the Japanese setting.
For all those we care about.
This theme also extends to the side activities and how the world changes over time with shifting seasons that alter the terrain.
Yeah, Wukong had this too.
Shadows ditches the need for hunting, and instead, you can find and draw rare wildlife found in the wild. It was an odd activity at first, but I found them endearing and a relaxing change of pace. I soon found myself being taken in by how atmospheric and thoughtful the setting.
So you can draw a picture of them instead of hunting them? Huh? What the hell?
Was.
That was worth the wait.
Shadows also emphasizes the dynamic between the two protagonists and their agency within the world after bonding over being outcasts within the country.
That's good.
I really enjoyed their dynamic within the story, and they play well with each other during cutscenes. Yasuke is a gentle giant and wise samurai enforcer who offers some poignant insights while learning about Japanese culture.
The reigns will continue in a different form. Another battle, same war.
Naoe's growth into an assassin with a heavy legacy to uphold shows an early look at the dramatic highs of the main story.
I cannot wait to play this.
You're free to switch off characters in the open world and during moments in the main story, letting you play as who you want in most key missions.
You're right. Let's do it.
But in an interesting addition, you also have the option of playing in canon mode, which presents a defined story without major narrative choices, which was added after developers saw how many fans were debating what the definitive story was for Valhalla and Odyssey.
Okay.
So it is you.
Yasuke and Naoe also represent the different extremes of Assassin's Creed's combat and stealth experiences, which have also seen clear upgrades across the board in Shadows. For combat, there's a heightened need for dodging and parrying strikes, crucial to piercing through armor to deliver a killing blow.
I will admit, it seems like the kill attacks, like the fatality attacks, are pretty good. Where you cut their head off and they're dead. That's cool. Like the base combat, I think is kind of mediocre, but that in itself is cool.
Ghost of Tsushima's offensive and defensive style of swordplay, but it also has familiar AC combat skills such as power grabs and the always funny kick move I used plenty of times. I generally felt pleased with the more thoughtful approach to combat. However, it also comes with more challenges, which unexpectedly made some of the encounters in the game feel a bit more difficult. Shadows also struggled to present fights with multiple foes accurately, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed by enemies coming in off-screen.
I don't know why so many games fixate on making you zoomed in like this. It's so annoying. I really think it's such a, why do you do this? Why does every game do this?
Still, when the new combat Shadows hits, it certainly does hit.
Yeah, that's cool, but
what impressed me...
The thing is, though, that's not combat, that's an animation. It's not even something that your character activates, it's just something that happens towards the end of combat when you hit an enemy and the hit would have caused the enemy to go to 0 health. It's not even really combat.
Most was the revamped stealth gameplay, which appropriately incorporates elements from Ubisoft's other stealth action series, Splinter Cell.
That should be all of them.
With the new visibility meter, you can see how open you are.
I need to slow down, identify my target.
Furthermore, there's a greater emphasis on light and darkness. You can even snuff out candles to add some cover. My favorite addition is the ability to go prone, which, as you can expect, is a game changer for stealth. Playing stealth with Naoe was so satisfying, and it does well to showcase just how much that gameplay style has improved. While both characters can combat and stealth, they also have clear limitations. For instance, Yasuke is a formidable fighter and is capable of ambushing enemies. However, his large stature is not ideal for advanced stealth.
Good. Yeah, I'm gonna play as him the whole time.
In addition to being incapable of climbing certain areas, he's also not great at performing the leap of faith.
Okay.
As for Naue,
Yeah, he's a tank.
she's a
Yeah, he is.
skilled assassin with access to a grappling hook and smoke bombs. However, her nimble combat style is far more reliant on parrying and dodging, and one hit from an elite enemy's heavy strike can take a chunk of her health bar.
I would expect
While
that.
pulling off Naue's combat skills was satisfying, I often had to resist the urge to take out every enemy and run for it when things got out of hand.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Continuing with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you can manage an up.
Yeah, this seems I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is shaping up to be a I mean, it's a big title. It's had a lot of culture war, like battleground content about like Yasuke and this girl. So I think IGN is probably going to give it an 8 or a 9, but I also think that it's probably going to be about like a 7 or an 8 game. I think it'll be above average and it'll be decent, but I don't think it's going to totally like blow people away. That's what I'm kind of expecting. Watch them rated a 4.
Upgrade a base of operations. As you recruit allies, they'll head to your hideout to open up shops and offer new side missions that incentivize revisits to previous zones.
Yeah, this is good.
But Shadows takes this feature a step further by allowing you to build out your custom village in the vein of Animal Crossing.
Yeah, this is cool.
The Town Builder mode
very
offers
cool.
plenty of options to add necessities and some personal touches to the hideout. I spent an unexpected amount of time building more housing and decorating my space with Shinto shrines.
Is this for the target audience? I don't think it is. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with like adding in all the, you know, like epic puppers and the doges and everything like that. It'd be all right. But I mean, this is an Assassin's Creed game. What are we doing?
And pets, such as cats and tanuki. There are also side activities, such as a visually striking meditation minigame to help you earn additional perks. It's an unexpectedly cozy side activity for an AC game, and I was quickly taken in by how satisfying it was to walk around a massive village I had made in a reasonably short time.
So I think this is going to be one of the questions that a lot of developers are going to need to ask. I think that in the last 10 years or so, we've seen the expansion of video games to include more and more things and more features and more functions. And I think that people are getting to a point of feature fatigue where you ask yourself the question, does this meditation minigame make the game better? Is this about the core gameplay loop? And less is more. Yeah, less is more in a lot of cases. And I feel like a couple of really great examples of that being the case. I think Space Marine 2 is probably the strongest and most direct example. But then you can also compare it to things like, for example, Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong knows what it is, and it knows what it's not. And I think that when I see an over-reliance and a focus on this like base building thing, and like you can pick out dogs, and there's like a meditation mini game, maybe I'm just being a toxic gamer, but like who the fuck asked? Who asked for any of this bullshit? What is this? Like what's going on? Like who's making these decisions? Like how is development time going into this? Because all of these features, there's like a set amount of money that the game has that they can spend on, you know, development. And you're taking some of that money and you're putting it into features that I don't think anybody really cares about. I mean, that's it. Like, who is this for? Yeah. It's a wasted opportunity because I partially disagree. I understand the counterpoint to what I'm saying, but I just don't agree that it's more important than what I'm saying. It's not that you're wrong, but I just think that my perspective is more right. It's a prioritization, yes. Zach got triggered over some dogs. Yes. Yes.
So far, Assassin's Creed Shadows is shaping up to be a solid follow-up to Ubisoft's ambitious Valhalla. Even if the familiar crop of open-world bugs and quirks popped up during my time, familiar crop of open-world bugs and quirks popped up during my time.
Yeah, I could see that.
I still found a great deal to appreciate with Shadows and its world building. While this conceit is not an uncommon backdrop for video games, which can be easy to mess up with insensitive representation, Assassin's Creed Shadows so far does well to justify its take on an open-world RPG set during this culturally rich era, especially in its handling of the two protagonists.
I mean, I think that when the frame of reference that you use for creating Yasuke as a character, or Yasuke as a character, I don't know how to pronounce it, is a Wikipedia fan fiction writer that credits and quotes himself inside of Wikipedia in order to make himself seem more legitimate. His name is Thomas Lockley, if you want to look more into it. And then you use the one-sided Tory gate as a marketing tool for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then you make the story of the game in the first combat preview, maybe the second combat preview, be, oh, okay, it's a black guy here, so let's go ahead and play some hip-hop Japanese music while he gets in a fight with somebody. Then after that, you put out an apology to the Japanese audience, and you don't refer to Yasuke as a samurai, but now they're kind of treading the needle in between the two things. And they're like, is he or is he not? I don't know. I mean, I think nobody knows because it happened hundreds of years ago and there's probably not enough documentation for it. Nobody has any fucking idea. But the point is that the assertion and the insistence that he was or wasn't anything is probably not very accurate. And then on top of that, there's one more thing I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting the one important thing. I don't remember. But either way, you have all of these inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and in my opinion, right, the game is then re-announced to launch on the anniversary of a terror attack that happened in Japan. There's been a lot of mistakes here. And I think that these mistakes are not being made intentionally. I think that with the Yasuke one, it was made intentionally. But with the other ones, I think that they're not. I think that it's just a matter of Ubisoft not taking the proper amount of time to create a game that accurately reflects and respects Japanese culture and tradition. And I think in the process of that, they've alienated a lot of Japanese players, and I think they've alienated a lot of Western players as well. And they've damaged their own reputation in the process. So I still stand very firmly in my belief that when this game comes out, Yasuke being a black samurai or not a samurai will not even be in the top 10 problems this game has when it releases. I think it's going to have a million other problems that are going to be totally more annoying than, oh wow, they went with this creative choice, right? And I think also the problem is that when you want to use, if you want to have a character like Yasuke, I think that's fine, but you can't have, you can't do something like that and then make an appeal to, authority and say, well, this is what people think it really was, and then say, oh, well, we're being creative at the same time. It's like you're kind of having, it's double speak, basically, right? And so I don't like that choice, simple as. Yeah. And so I mean, I'm going to play this game when it comes out for sure, right? Because of, just content, right? But man, they really made a lot of mistakes, and I think that the people that ran the like cultural awareness for this game at Ubisoft, I think you need to get new people. Because they did everything wrong. They took L's that people didn't even know existed. We had to go into like deep Wikipedia, you know, secondary sources in order to find out how big these L's really were. This is a huge, like, Massive level fuck up. You heard of Toyotomi Hideyoshi? Isn't he the one that betrayed Oda Nobunaga? I think he is, right? But I don't know if that's what's going to happen. If they're going to show that, no, it's not. It is. I don't know. I thought it was some name like that. But either way, the point is that... what do you call it? Yeah, no, Hideyoshi? Yeah, I don't remember exactly. But my point is that I think this is like, it's been massively damaging for Ubisoft's reputation. Like, tremendously damaging. And I think that, like, one way that you can tell that it's been damaging is that a lot of the promotional material that Ubisoft has used talking about this game, like, at least in, like, some of the other pictures, it's, like, minimized Yasuke as, like, part of the story entirely. Like, visually, it's kind of like what they did with Black Panther in, with Finn in Star Wars for, like, China. Mistake implies ignorance. This was malicious self-righteousness. No, I actually think that it was ignorance. Like, I don't think that they, like, whenever they did the one Torigate thing, I don't think that they did that and they were like, oh, let's get this one over on Japanese people because, haha, America bombed you. I don't think that anybody at Ubisoft was thinking of that. I think that they just basically Googled, you know, Japanese, you know, symbols. They saw this and they were like, okay, let's go with that. That's the truth.
With the release finally coming soon, I'm eager to see how Ubisoft's take on Assassin's Creed's journey to Japan will come together. For more on the latest upcoming games during this busy opening of 2025, check out our final preview of Civilization 7. And of course, for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.
I think it also was a matter of, I think it was the way that they introduced Yasuke.
What do you think?
And I think that a lot of it was like, yeah, this is like this black samurai or whatever. And I think that if they had come in and said like, yeah, nobody really knows what happened with this guy, but we think he'd be a really cool character for us to tell our story through, I think that would have been a much better way, and I think that people would have been much less defensive about it, right? Because you have things like Afro Samurai, for example, and then I think that even in Nioh 2, Yasuke is like an optional boss in Nioh 2. But I think the issue that a lot of people took with the original implementation of this is that they added a character that had a very controversial history, and then they basically used this appeal to authority that turned out to be false to basically patronize anybody who disagreed with them. And I think that a lot of people felt like it was disrespectful. And I think that it was disrespectful, too. He seems like a cool heavy fighter. He's 1.5 foot taller than everybody else in the game. Yeah, no, but like, he should have been a slow approach. Yeah, but I think that, again, if they had just basically introduced him as a character and said, like, yeah, this guy seems pretty cool. Like, we don't really know a lot about him, but we're going to use him as the main character. Everybody would have been like, I mean, yeah, of course you would have had some people saying, oh, woke. Yeah, definitely. But it would have been a fraction of what ended up happening. So I'm very concerned with this game coming out. I think that the combat seems pretty below average. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Here's the IGN. I think IGN did a pretty good job talking about this and looking over it. But yeah, it's really hard to kind of say. And I'll read a few comments about this and then we'll move on. And stop buying this shit and allowing these issues to continue. Well, I mean, I streamed the game, so of course I'm going to do it, right? But, I mean, I don't think anybody else should buy it if they don't think that it looks good, right? And, you know, at the end of the day, you got to do what you want to do with your own money. It's disrespectful to Japanese culture in the story. I think that if you introduce the story and you say this is based off of historical context, but it's not one-to-one, and you're like, you introduce it that way. You set the frame of reference there. I think that you would have had a lot less people be defensive about it. And I think that's what happened. And I think that really, but it's also like, again, with the Yasuke thing, that's the point that I'm making, right? Is like, that's only one point in like a massive fucking, like, there's like 5 or 10 points of things that were done badly. Like, this is just one example of it. All Assassin's Creed games are like that. They're never like that one-to-one. I know that, but the difference is that I feel like with Assassin's Creed Shadows, they took this holier-than-thou, like, virtue position about it. And I think that the patronizing nature of the way that they communicated that caused people to have a negative reaction to the game. So I agree with what you're saying, and that's it, right? I mean, but like, I don't think that's the full story. The writers were smug about it? Yes, they were. Yeah, there's a difference between inspired by historical events and historically accurate. Yeah. The same issue with Dragon Age, with Ninja Gaiden coming around the corner, the player base will leave and play that in an instant. Yeah. And also, I think that you can have realistic combat without having it be slow and kind of like, you know, not choppy, but like kind of mediocre, right? And so we'll have to wait and see what happens. The Last Samurai isn't factual, but it's a fun movie. So my understanding is that The Last Samurai is based off of something that's factual, but it's like it's a micro story that exists inside of a fictional, or sorry, inside of a historical outcome. Like, yeah, it's like historical fiction. I'm not sure, but like that's my understanding of it. It's a white savior narrative, more or less. I mean, I watched The Last Samurai. I don't think that, and I think also, from my understanding, the Japanese loved that movie, and it made Tom Cruise like a huge celebrity over there. So, if the Japanese people seem to like it, and I mean, I didn't get that vibe, that doesn't really seem like it's the case. Yeah, I don't think that's what happened. Like, I remember when the movie came out, and like I was a kid, and because I remember like after The Last Samurai came out, me and my friend Lowell, like we got a, you know, remember those like old catalogs that they would give you, and like you could like give them $30 and they would send you a sword. Well, we did that, and so after we watched The Last Samurai, and the sword was such a piece of shit, it bent whenever we were trying to cut cardboard with it, and we did it out in this driveway. It was a good movie. Yeah, it was. And yeah, cutting each other with a fucking sword ball. Yell a lot? That's why you got yelled all the time? Yeah, I did. I did. I got yelled at a lot. But because it accurately depicted culture. Yeah, definitely. And he didn't save anyone. He was just there to observe the end of the samurai. Oh yeah. And I think that's also another issue is that, yeah, Tom Cruise was not the last samurai. Tom Cruise observed The Last Samurai, and he told the Last Samurai's story. Very big difference there. Massive, tremendous omega difference. So yeah. Another issue with Yusuke is when he destroys a market, a samurai would never do that. It isn't respectful. I mean, I don't know enough historically about that. I mean, I would assume that's true, but like I just don't know that for a fact. So yeah, I mean, that's the way at least I see it, and I'm looking at a lot of this stuff myself. But I do find it to be very, very odd. Trump calls out the mayor. Let's go ahead, we're gonna look at this. Thanks for covering these events. Yeah, no, I know that there's a lot of people that have been, you know, people have been very divided about, you know, me covering different topics or doing different stuff. And overall, I feel like that's just what's always gonna happen, is that I just always am gonna have, like, I mean, it's the same thing with like that Johnny Depp thing or like Lost Ark or Final Fantasy. There's just gonna be different things that I focus on for different reasons, and that's gonna be it, right? Do what you want. Yeah, I always do, right? And that's what I've always tried to do. Anyway, we'll move on. So apparently this is some big fucking thing that happened with like these fires. Here we go.
I often agree with you on tariffs. But how about no tariffs on building materials for the next 3 years?
Well, we'll take a look at that, actually.
Mr. President.
The mayor, please.
Yes. First of all, let me just take the opportunity to officially welcome you to Los Angeles.
How
really
nice.
Appreciate you coming, and especially you come just a few days after your inauguration. So I want you to know that your presence here is very much appreciated. Let me also say that I know you had an opportunity to see the devastation. You've seen the extreme loss, the grief that people are going through here. And we are 100% committed to getting this neighborhood rebuilt again. You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So
not even looking at it.
I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, That will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope
That will not, you can hold me to it.
This 4 groups said that. and
No.
That would be they should
No,
be able
that-
to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
That will not be the case. You know, first we have to take care of, to make sure that there's not getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody had their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help.
You got it. I told you. You will have no permit problem. There will be 0 delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
And the research.
I am more worried.
Great.
I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly, and they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste. What's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
No.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay, good.
You can come back and check.
Last night, 18 months. So what? If that's not the answer, Mayor Bass, what is the answer? Because that's what we were all told last night.
Well, and let me just tell you that we are going to do everything we can, slashing regulations, expediting everything so that people can begin the process right away. You know,
I
we
think
have the
nobody going to buy that shit. She's not giving them a number.
Disaster Recovery Center on Pico and Westwood. We have building and safety there. People are already contacting the local agencies. We're bringing our city departments together so that people don't get caught in the loop of going from one room to the next. We want them all to be in the same room so that you can get busy rebuilding ASAP. Absolutely. Yes. And we will clear the lots, absolutely, in the city and in the county. We are working together. Both levels of government are working in unity.
That'd be 18 months. Is it not 18 months? Is it like that's the answer that we got, and that's where we're all hanging on?
Yes.
So if you're telling us now faster, is it 6 months? Is it? I mean, all of our lives, rents, all this stuff is weighing on this.
6 months is no good.
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And you know, we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can, but we want you to be safe. And we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't
Yes,
cost
and
a
they
lot.
can.
You
And
should
they are
let them
able
do
to-
it because
No,
by the
they
time you
can do
hire
that.
contractors, it's
Right.
going to be 2 years.
If a family...
People are willing to get a...
It's kind of crazy how, like, it's hard to know, like, really, like, where things actually stand in a situation like this. But I feel like the way that she advocates for this kind of stuff, it's like the, people that are advocating for, like, the process of, like, bureaucracy. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people are kind of tired and they want to see, like, the Doge stuff and everything. Because there's, like, all these processes and all of these restrictions and this red tape and everything where, like, you just can't, like, it's like things become too big to move.
A dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can't.
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot. I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because you have a very powerful emergency power, and you can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, Everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most important
a week
thing
is a
for
long
people
time.
to be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watch hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's
I didn't even realize that when I saw it. Yeah, they took her mic. Oh my god.
all burned.
Jesus.
It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and I say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them, everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
That was last night.
Man, that was last night.
Oh, no.
Man. Find more videos, it gets much better.
President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were able to see the devastation from the Palisades fire firsthand from both the air and the ground. They also met with local, state, and federal leaders to discuss relief.
So now it is full video on Pacific Palisades to look at today's visit. Tim.
David Ellen, this is still going on a little bit later than initially anticipated. President Trump essentially on his way out after that long round table, taking questions and speaking, as you guys mentioned, with state, local, and federal leaders on getting people aid. Obviously, the president coming to town.
I work in the construction industry around LA. The permitting process is an absolute shit show. No, I have a friend of mine that he worked in a construction company in California, and I think he did work in LA, and he said the same thing to me. And I feel like, you know, it's the bureaucratic process. That's always what it is. And I think it happens with, I think with every system, this is kind of like, it's like a cancer. Like you have like an efficient, like really, like well-managed system. And then the system grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes oppressive. And then the oppression needs to have regulations inside of it. And then so it's like, it just kind of builds on top of each other. And I think that happens, it happens with everything. It happens with companies, it happens with governments. I know it, I mean, I think it happens with video games. People make video games. It's entropy or like scope creep, basically.
People who are on the other side of the political aisle, but everyone hoping they could work together to get everyone here aid. President Trump high above what's left of Pacific Palisades.
Holy fuck.
Brief aerial tour of the destruction before seeing the damage up close.
2, 1, right here.
The president was sworn into office this week.
God damn.
Support to those who lost everything in the fires.
We're looking to get something completed. And the way you get it completed is to work together. He's the governor of the state.
Yeah, I found out that we actually know somebody that had their house get burned down. I just found that out yesterday while I was on stream. I was like, what the fuck? Like, so yeah, no, a lot of people got fucked over by it.
And we're going to get it completed. They're going to need a lot of federal help.
Governor Gavin Newsom met the president as Air Force One landed at LAX.
Like the trees made it?
Two have butted heads before, but both bound
Well,
to work
it makes
together
sense.
to find short-term and long-term
Because the trees are
tens
fake.
of thousands impacted.
We're going to need your support. We're going to need your help. You were there for us during COVID. I don't forget that. And I have all the expectations that we'll be able to work together to get this speedy recovery. We will. We're going to get it done. Tremendous numbers of lives have been affected. A lot of real estate's been affected. Nobody's ever probably seen anything like this.
But the president already said disaster aid would only come to Angelinos if the state implements voter ID and new water management policies. The second demand already right.
And I love how people are like, wow, I can't believe this happened. What did you expect?
Obey me.
Yeah, of course he's, yeah.
Refuted by the executive director of LA Waterkeeper, who said the president doesn't understand the state's water system. The president also held a roundtable with local, state, and federal leaders where he and Mayor Karen Bass had a lively back and forth about growing frustration from people who want to get back to their properties.
But we want you to be safe. We want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't
Yes,
cost
and
a
they
lot.
can,
You
and
should
they are
let them
able
do
to-
it because
No, no,
by
no,
the
they
time you
can do
hire
that.
contractors, it's
Right.
going to be 2 years.
The president was only
It's
in
only
Los
5
Angeles
days,
a few
yeah.
hours, and Governor Newsom hopes he returns to visit the equally ravaged Altadena. He found a few Trump supporters who lost their businesses in the Palestine fire, who hope politics don't get in the way of the recovery.
Coming together in this
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, in my opinion, it's like this is like a two wrongs don't make a right situation. I think it's definitely mafia tactics to like hold back federal funding if they don't do voter ID. It 100% is mafia tactics. Like, let's be honest, right? It's like, and Trump's done this a million times. What a surprise! Like anybody could have predicted this. But at the same time, it's also dumb to not have voter ID. So it's like they're stupid for not having it, but I think that it's kind of not fair